Live.
How's it going, everyone? I actually am going to run over here and shut this door.
Great timing, Anthony. And beforehand, I had my lovely little puppy squeaking his ball out there, but I believe he has stopped, guys. So, welcome to Beyond the Grid, episode 3. And we have a lot to talk about. There's still so much going on in the hybrid space. We had DekFit NorCal. We had the London Elite 15 doubles, the final Elite 15 doubles. So that will be a key focus of today's episode. And we even have a special guest jumping on in, I believe, about 15 minutes' time. None other than JK himself.
Awesome. How you doing today, Bernice?
I'm good, Anthony. How are you doing?
I am good. Just excited to go over this. I was able to stay up super late and watch the London race.
Yeah, what time was it for you? It was pretty late, wasn't it?
Yeah, so
Late or
for
early, how you want to see it.
yeah, early, right? So Sunday night to Monday morning, the men's race for me raced at midnight, and the women's race started at 1:30.
Okay, that's probably late, not early.
Yeah.
We had it good this time. So we had it at, I think it was 5 p.m. and then 6:30 p.m. So I just watched it
Oh,
while I was cooking dinner.
oh, that's perfect. That
Yeah,
was
we don't
easy,
usually get it
great
that
time.
good. Yeah, but it was a great race, which I know we're going to get into. But God, I got to say, particularly on that men's side, just how close it was for the field was insane.
There was what 9 seconds between the top four men, and then like 20 something seconds back to the next. Like,
Yeah.
just fantastic racing there. It's going to be oh so close, and it just. I mean, yeah, we'll get into it later, but it shows you just how tight some of this field can actually be, and how tight to expect it to be at Worlds.
Oh, definitely. Because I think from memory, wasn't it 5 seconds between first and third? That's how close it was between Charlie Botterill and Ollie Russell, down to third place, which was Hitty Wiesmer and Thierry Willy Gangberg. Oh, that's a
Yeah.
tough one, Theory, to pronounce. But anyway, I'm probably jumping way ahead. But as Anthony just said, it's going to make the races in Chicago even more exciting to watch.
Yep. So before we get started, I actually wanted to tell everybody because I found this out and I've been going through the same process. Um, if you are trying to get help with your ticket for Hyrox, like you're trying to change something for World Championships, not all of them, just this for World Championships. Um, Instead of using that contact form on the website. I've used that a couple times because I don't really like to like bother other people that I know with like matters of my own ticket. So if you want to get in contact with them to change something, the way you're going to do, you have to email wc@hyrox.com. That's what I was emailed back with when I used the contact form and asked about my World Championships ticket, what to do. They told me, hey, for all inquiries about World Championships, please send it to wc@hyrox.com. So anybody that's trying to figure something out with their ticket, that's what you have to do. I got that like last Friday. So I'm in the process now. Haven't heard anything back from WC at World Championships, or sorry, WC at hyrox.com yet, but hopefully I will. And I could tell you the lead time on that next week if they're back to me by then. Because we are 5 weeks and 1 day away from the first race at World Championships 2025.
Crazy. I actually can't believe it's here. And we'll definitely do an episode, or maybe even a few episodes, to be honest, that are really focused, won't we, Anthony, on the World Championships, what's coming up. I mean, hopefully, I'm really hoping we get the announcements of the relay captains soon, so we actually know who's in those teams as well. That's one element that I'm pretty excited for.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure some people already know. I know some people already know because I talked to somebody that's already been told that they were captain.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, just and if you watch the race of the men's race doubles, if you watch the interview with Hide and Cherry afterwards, uh, Hide, they say on it, Hide's like, oh yeah, hopefully I'll be in all 3 races. And then he says Cherry kind of outs him as, aren't you captain? So like there's multiple people out there that I'm sure we'll get into. And so maybe by the end of next week, we'll be able to discuss all the relay and how that's shaping up, because there's 3 very exciting races at the Hyrox World Championships this year. But before we get into Hyrox, there was another event this weekend. There were 2 Hyrox races this past weekend, and there was a DekFit NorCal. Let's start with that. DekFit NorCal happened in Sacramento, California. It was the second DekFit race on the West Coast. And you had, just real fast, I'm going to go over the names and we can go over a little bit about each of them. But the winner on the women's field was Samantha Faddis. She went 36:12, running a 20:27 for her 5K. And then Shannon Payne, 36:20, so 8 seconds difference there. And then Haley Brogan, only 46 seconds back of Shannon. That rounds out your women's podium. And then on the men's side, you have Glenn Race, 32:23. He ran an 18:58 5K. And then Jeremiah Mahan, 32:37, only 14 seconds back of Glenn. And then Lucas Garrett taking third with a 33:29. And I'll get a little bit more into those in a bit. But do you know those people, Bernice?
I don't, I have to be honest, Anthony. I guess just being down under. Yeah, no, I don't. Are they from like OCR circles, or what's a few of their, like, majority of their backgrounds?
Yeah, Glenn Race was OCR for sure. He raced a lot of those. And then Sam is actually on our training program, so it's great to see her get a podium, and not just a podium, on top of the podium. So really cool that she was able to capture that, and really one of her first races back. She gave birth a little bit ago. She actually has had her son was her first child, born on the same day as Lily.
Oh, there you
So
go.
they share a birthday, like day, month, and year.
Which is when,
Uh,
Anthony?
their birthday is July 10th.
Okay, July 10th. I'll have to remember
Um,
that one.
But one thing I wanted to look up is actually where she falls. So winning that race put her in 8th place on the overall leaderboard for this year. And so if 15 make it to Worlds, she's well in there right now. So great job to Sam. Shannon Payne is also sitting in 10th, and Haley Brogan in 11th. So all 3 of the podium from that race end up within the top 15 on the Dekafit leaderboard.
I mean, they're great 5K times.
Yeah. Do you know, I figured you'd be the one to know, will Australia be having a Dekafit this year?
Do you know what? I haven't heard that there's a Deca Fit. We've had plenty of Deca Strongs, but unfortunately not a Deca Fit yet. So, yeah, not that I've heard. It'd be great if we did, because at the moment we're kind of lacking, to be honest, in those types of, more fitness racing events. We've got, yeah, a few Deca Strongs that have happened here before. We've got the Turf Games, we've got Deadly Dozen coming up. But yeah, if you're listening, Deca, we would love to have a Deca Fit here, potentially in Sydney or Melbourne would be fantastic.
Yeah. On the men's side, going into this, currently sitting in 8th place is Glenn Race, but that's his time from his Dekafit SoCal race. His Dekafit NorCal race does have him sitting in 11th, so he's in there twice, but he'll obviously use the higher one for seating and possibly going to Worlds. What's interesting is if you look at the top 15 in the Dekafits this year, you have some really standout people in the Hyrox world as well. So we got Grayson Kilgore, Alphonse Duruiz, Ryan Kent are all the top 3 on the leaderboard for Dekafit. And if you roll down, you got Roberto Vicendio Jimeneo, who he's half of that team that won in Paris from a later wave. And if you go even further down, in 15th right now is Jake Williamson.
Okay.
So some of these Hyrox players are getting involved in Dekafit.
That's good. I mean, Jake just competed on the weekend and obviously did really well within the London Elite 15 doubles. I mean, it's good to see a bit of the crossovers going on. Can you actually just remind me, Anthony, what's within the Dekafit race itself? Because I'm not, to be honest, that familiar with it, having not been here in Australia yet.
Right. So Dekafit is 10 stations. That's what the Deca comes from. It's 10 stations. You do a 500-meter run before every station, so not 1,000, which equivalates to the 5 kilometers of running you end up doing. And each station is in order. I believe it's lunges with a ram, followed by rowing, 500 meters, not 1,000. Box step overs or jump overs. Um, what's after that? Med ball sit ups.
Okay.
And then I feel like I'm missing one, but ski erg. And then farmer carry. After the farmer carry is the dead ball over walls.
Okay. Yep.
No. After the farmer carry is the assault bike, then dead ball over walls, then the tank push and pull, and then ram burpees.
Okay. That's a tough workout
Yeah.
with the
Goes
assault
through.
bike thrown in there.
Yeah, the assault bike's pretty rough on a lot of it. So
Oh, I hope Deca brings it down here to Australia. Would be great.
they did have one there last year, and I think JK was going to go do it and ended up not. But yeah, it'd be good to get you guys one down there and be able to do Dekafit. Maybe actually make it like a worldwide event where you guys can come join in the World Championships that are held in last year. They were held in Ocala, Florida.
Okay. Yep. Us Aussies can show you guys what we're made of.
That's right. All right. So now we can go on. I just want to say congratulations to all those people that raced it. Good job. Good podiums. One thing I did want to say is that they actually had what's called a Deca Ultra the following day on Sunday. That's Sunday Deca Ultra. So what that is you run 5 Dekafits back to back to back to back to back, right?
Yeah.
Without a rest. So people go and, you usually aren't getting a ton of, you don't get any rest in between them, but you're not averaging what you would run for like a single Dekafit, right? You're talking a 3-hour plus event. This is like only the second or third one they've ever done. On the women's side for the Deca Ultra, 2 runners in the elite. That's Hannah Franciosa and Julie Best. So they both finished, and they finished within about 2.5 minutes of each other. So you're talking 220 plus minutes of racing to finish within 2.5 minutes of each other. They're about just over 1% difference there. And then on the men's side, Eduardo Corat won with 3 hours, 18 minutes, and 39 seconds. Andres Laviva went 3 hours, 26 minutes, and 21 seconds. And then in third place was Lucas Garrett, who was also on the men's side. So he ran the Dekafit the day before on Saturday, and then also ran it, the Deca Ultra, on Sunday. So he ended up running 6 Dekafits. He went 33:29 in his solo Dekafit on Saturday. He ended up running 3 hours, 27 minutes, and 43 seconds for third place again on Sunday.
Wow. I mean, that's just ridiculous.
And rounding out the top 5 is Adam Bogey and Dustin Needham.
Incredible times. I mean, they're like marathon times, in terms of what they're doing those in.
Yeah, that really is. Like, you're talking a marathon. It's 25 kilometers of running and 5 times through each of those stations. Like, it really gets taxing. And that's 100 total ram burpees by the end of it. The bike itself, you're doing 125 calories at a pretty high pace on the assault bike. So great job to all those athletes. Great job, Sam. I see you in the comments. That's awesome.
I know, I was just going to mention that Sam is in the chat. Hello, Sam.
But we're not done with Deca though, because there was another Deca going on this past weekend. Actually, about 3 miles down the road from me. I went over to a gym. They were holding a Deca Strong and a Deca Atlas. Uh, I've never done. Well, I did Deca Atlas and like when it was being tested, but it's not like the same rules that were applied at this current race. So I went and did it, and I checked my score on the leaderboard afterwards. And right now I'm sitting. I think so. Instead of calling it like RX and scaled, they call it peak and foundation. So if you go to
Okay.
peak people for the Deca Atlas, right now I'm sitting third overall on the worldwide leaderboard. Um, for my Deca Atlas, I finished in 11:48, 11 minutes and 48 seconds. And look at our special guest here. Look
Hey,
at him just hanging
Hello,
out.
Jimmy Jam.
He's are you getting country bumpkin yet out there in Tennessee? Dun, 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 dun.
how y'all going?
How you
Oh,
doing?
that was terrible.
Was it?
I thought
are
it
you all
sounded natural to
going?
me. I almost responded.
What's with the
I did.
glasses, Jim?
Excuse me, Bernice. How are you?
I'm
Bernice?
well. I'm
I
well,
haven't
thanks,
spoken to you in
my
a while.
beautiful brother.
Yeah. How's back home? How's Australia going?
Australia's great. We're still going strong. You know,
Going
just had an
strong.
election. Best part of the year's
Mm.
election time.
Yep.
No, Australia's all good. Australia misses you though, Jim.
Well, I miss Australia, but not as much as I miss you.
Oh, thank you. Not as much as you miss Anthony.
Anthony Parasini, how are you?
I am good. How you doing?
Very well, thank you. Thank you for the day of training today. I think I'm going to be sore tomorrow.
Yeah. Did you do your 500 squats today?
I did indeed.
500. Oh,
Yeah, it was a good one. Feeling it this afternoon, but in a good way.
Nice. We were just finishing up Dekafit. I think we're done. Moving on, we're gonna go on to the Elite 15 doubles. Did you watch the doubles race, JK?
I did not, but heard a lot about it. Obviously, the tightest finish there has ever been.
Oh yeah,
for the
for
men's side,
sure.
yeah,
Oh,
for
Very
for the
sure.
men's side, yeah.
so close. The top three teams, just time wise, the top three teams all finished 2 seconds to 3 seconds around your time from Houston.
Wow.
So 5 second spread from first to third. And actually, you could take it down further. There's only 2 seconds to fourth place. So the fourth place team in London only missed the podium by 2 seconds.
Oh wow. Who was that? The fourth place team?
That would
Thomas
be
Fry.
Thomas
Thomas
Fry
Fry and
and
Alan
Alan Cow,
KO.
who
Cow.
who in Paris were in a later heat and nudged Hide Wurzma and Cherry Willingenberg. They nudged them by like 1 second from a
Right.
later heat previously in Paris. This time they were both in the same heat. This time Hide and Cherry come out on top and get that third place position.
Wow. Yeah. Did the winner break 50 or did the winner do like 50
Winner
not 50
50.02.
50.02? There you go.
Yeah.
So Anthony's actually pulled out for us today, Jim. I guess all the qualifying times for the Elite 15 doubles, kind of in
Yep.
the order of 1 to 15. And it is crazy, particularly the men's side. Just looking, I think you've got down here, Anthony, that the time spread in total from 1st to 15th with that list is 4 minutes and 33 seconds, which I don't think is a heap within.
It's
Well, it's a bit, but
Well, think about this. This is the wild part about that is if you take off the Australian races, and no offense here to the Australian racers, like I would just assume it was the initial course, but if you take off the Australian races, that brings it down to 2 minutes and 38 seconds from first to 12th.
yeah. Yeah. So the qualifying races of Houston, Paris, and Miami, the spread was only 230-ish, right?
Yeah,
Or
yeah,
which is
238.
crazy.
Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah.
And even like the first 11 are all under 51 minutes.
yeah.
I
They
was
all
about to
qualified
ask
in
that.
under 51 minutes.
how many? So how many have gone 51, and is it 11 out of the 15?
So here's the thing
11.
too. It's 11, but actually Jeremy McConnell and Dylan Scott, who are seated 12th with the 5109, they had a 10-second penalty. So they finished 50-59 in their race, but were given a
True.
10-second penalty for touching the row handle early, I believe.
Yeah,
So
that's right.
if they're not given that penalty, then you're looking at 12 teams below 51,
Wow.
which I think before the season started, 51 was like 3 teams ever.
Yeah. Crazy. Now, yeah, it's gonna be interesting. What are the other 4 teams after that, and what times were they?
After
Sorry,
After 11th.
yeah, after
So we
11th.
got in 12th, well, Jeremy McConnell and Dylan Scott, who, as
Yeah.
Anthony said, technically without that penalty would have been sub 50. And then we had the 3 teams that raced in Melbourne back in December. So we've got Chris Woolley and Tom Rogers, 52, 53.
Yep.
And then Tengai Cruz, Daniel Payne, 52, 55. And then Peter Mace and Tom Franson's 53.04.
Yeah, cool.
But I mean, as Anthony, you just pointed out before, it's difficult when you're comparing these times on all different courses. So
Yeah, definitely.
I guess who knows what can really happen when they're all on the same course.
yeah, and that's I mean, I was gonna save this for later, but it's something we can say now too, is that if you look at it, right, we have no idea what could happen. We don't know which courses were ran efficiently and which ones were maybe inefficient just from looking at the times. Because just for example, you had Kieran Parkinson and Tony Ravel run on 3 of those courses. They went 53-21 in Melbourne. They improved by over 2 minutes in Miami to run a 51:02. And then they went 80 seconds slower in London to 52:28, right? And then you also had the last team you mentioned, Tom Francis and Peter Mays. They ran in London as well. I was just going to grab their time, and they finished 12th in London with a 51:41, right? So
Wow.
51:41 is still like 80 seconds faster than their Australian time, which was about what you're looking at Kieran and Tony did. They went a little bit faster too. So you know what? I wouldn't say any of the courses, like any of these teams, have a distinct advantage. It looks like they're all going to be. It's going to be a crowd, is what it's going to be.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
The other thing I was going to point out, Anthony and James, is that I'm just looking at like the list of the rankings. So I guess having the Elite 15 doubles this season has just caused that world record to be broken. I think it's been broken 3.
Well, technically twice, right?
Technically, yeah. Well, technically it's been broken twice, but it's been broken, I guess, in
3
a way
times.
by like 4, actually 4, because
Yeah. So
no, sorry, yeah, you're right. Yeah, Charlie Botterill and Ollie Russell. No,
So
50.02.
no. So it was broken by JK and Jake, and then
Yeah.
Paleo and Rich broke that, and only the first time
course.
that crosses the finish line, because otherwise now that's the new world record. So only the first time that crosses the finish line counts as a world record. So there's 2 breaks, right?
Yeah.
But people that have gone faster, I believe the previous world record was like 50-14 or something. So you're looking at 6 teams on here and 1 team that didn't make it that's not on here. We're all under the world record from the start of the year.
That's what's crazy, is that like the top 11 that are now competing in the men's side for the Elite 15 doubles in Chicago are in the top 16 best times of the world, according to what I'm looking at right now. Like Marcus Watt and Dawson Miller's time of 50:56 is sitting 16th best in the world. So it's just crazy to think that we really do have, I guess, the best of the best in there for this race, and how many times that world record has been broken. Like, will it be broken again in Chicago?
Yeah, like if nobody else had ran, and you're talking Marcus and Dawson, they would have been the fourth fastest men's pro doubles times ever at the start of the season. Right now they're sitting further down. They're whatever 15, 16 now overall.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting, but also it'll be interesting when everyone's on the same course. So and look, so just on that, how about the female side? Obviously London.
Well, before we move on to that, we didn't talk about who won in London and what they did. So I want to give everybody their flowers that was there. So the London Elite 15 men, though, you're talking Charlie Botterill and Ollie Russell. And what's crazy is they are the future of the sport. Both those guys are under 24. So you have two young dudes out there running. And then you got Jake Williamson and Alan Plow, who also are out there doing a fantastic job. They obviously all these teams were within 5 seconds of each other. So it was like a mad dash at the finish line. You're talking 1 or 2 wall balls between all these teams. And then in third place, you have Hide Wurzma and Cherry Willingenberg. What's crazy about this is out of every team in London, the only team to have an individual Elite 15 qualifier was Hide, and he was a qualifier from the LCQ. There was no other Elite 15 individual qualifier in the field racing in London. On the men's side.
Yeah, okay.
And then, like we talked about, Thomas Fry and Alan Cow, Ollie Fricker and Sean Noble finished in 5th, Joffrey Voisin and Guilherme Lavoie 6th, and Jordan Bryant and Harry Thompson in 7th.
That's crazy.
What's interesting is, like, think about the incentive that Hyrox has given now to create these teams, these fantastic teams that are out there just crushing. It makes people want to, instead of saying, oh, I'm going to get my buddy or my significant other or something, like, let's just go have a fun doubles race. People are like, we pair up well, let's go run.
Yeah.
I think some pairs are going to learn a lot though from this season. Like I think we're likely going to see some change ups maybe next season of the pairs. But I should point out that that Jean Ramirez has commented just to say that I feel like the elite doubles will be won by whoever can recover the fastest, since most of them will be racing 3 races that weekend. I will point out though, I think it was maybe Greg from the Rocks Life who told me that there's already a few athletes who have qualified for the solos and the doubles who have said they don't want to do relay. They've put themselves, they're not putting their hand up for the team relays because of that fatigue reason. So I don't know who those athletes are, but if that's the case, will we see them do better in the doubles just purely from a fatigue point of view?
No.
Nope. Oh, I'm so glad I didn't realize you were about to say that, Anthony. Because I was about to just say, we'll see you out there, boys.
No, there's these athletes. First off, yes, it's a big ask, and yes, they get tired, and it's excessive after that first race, that individual race, to go into another one. They get a full day break. Doing the relay, well, it is explosive and everything. These guys do more volume and are able to handle these loads better than like you or I could, right, Bernice? They're not going to get tired by 2 8-minute, or not even 8-minute, like 6 to 7 minute bouts on a day where they get 24 hours recovery before they do their next one.
Speak for yourself, Anthony. I could do it. I'm carrying a 2-kilo baby right now. I can do anything. You're right. I definitely couldn't. But you're right. Actually, like the relay is such a different race. It's just a quick burst of energy. I mean, on average, what would you say an athlete is actually out there on the course for a relay? Would it be
12 minutes.
10 to 12 minutes?
And it depends on what stations they're doing too, because different stations are going to have different taxing abilities. But they're out there doing more than what these relays require on consecutive days already.
Exactly,
And so you're talking maybe 15 minutes worth of actual work. And they're going to warm up well for it. So they're getting some like aerobic movement and they're getting their active recovery in. They're getting the blood flow. They're going to move again probably on Saturday before the race, like to actually get things moving and mobilizing properly. There is no, yes, it's like technically you don't want to go sprint like in that order of like long duration, sprint, long duration. But seriously, as much as the relay is a sprint, it's still technically, if you go by energy systems, is still aerobic. It's 7 minutes long. That's past your ATP. That's past your glycotic. That is into aerobic. That's the system that
Yeah.
takes over the most.
I was about to say that, right? And sorry, we're going off topic, but just personally, my output if I get chosen for the Australian relay is not necessarily going to be a lot harder or a lot more intense than even my race on Thursday night. It's going to be, it's going to be somewhat a little bit more intense, but not to the extreme that people think.
You're not doing a
Because of it
200
being
meter
7
sprint or a 400-meter sprint. You still have to run
a
probably
kilometer.
1,100 meters
Yeah.
and do a station. Like,
So yeah, it's not as VO2 max as what people actually think a relay is, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see who gets chosen for those relays soon. To see how many people are doing Thursday, Friday,
Yep.
and Saturday night.
We should definitely call that out,
do you
Anthony,
think
once we know.
Yeah. Do you think it's over or under 6 athletes who are racing all three
Like in total,
in total, men and
I was
women?
going to say over.
over.
Over?
Oh,
Yeah, it'll be.
now
I
you
mean,
got me
so
thinking.
Anthony has pulled out here though, James, the 5 men, for example, who aren't taking part in. So there are 5 that are currently in the Elite
So,
15
yeah.
men solo who aren't racing doubles.
So
Right. Who are
there's
they?
10 of the individual males comprise 10 of the 30 spots in the elite doubles, right? So
Okay.
that means there's 20 individuals within the doubles teams that aren't racing individual.
Right. Okay. Who are the
Um,
5 that aren't from the Elite 15?
so the 5 men racing individual that are not racing doubles: Alex Ronkovic, Hunter McIntyre, Thomas Turdvik, Graham Holiday, and John Wynn.
Interesting.
Hey
And
Jim, a question I was actually going to ask you. Might be putting you on the spot a bit, but are there any, like from your opinion, any male athletes that haven't teamed up this season that you think if they had would have been pretty dangerous out there? Might have to give it some thought, but I mean, even just thinking about, Ronk, Hunter, Thomas Turvdick, Graham Halliday, and John Wynn not competing in the doubles, like, is there anyone that you think they could have teamed up with? And
Oh well, like I'll be honest here. Like Alex Ronkovic and Hunter would be a very powerful team. Let's just be totally honest. So
yeah,
interesting that they didn't end up not necessarily going together, but interesting that they didn't end up even trying to qualify, because obviously Graham and John did, right? So, but yeah, apart from that, I don't know, Bernice. I think next year is going to be totally different, right? I think there's going to be more. There's going to be even more of an influx of elite athletes coming into the double space, right? Um,
yeah.
so yeah, but Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Anthony, I'm just going back to your surely over 6 athletes
I mean,
across.
so I meant to pull this out, but right now there's 10 men that are racing in individual and in doubles, right? There's also 10 women racing individual and in doubles. So that's 20 people that have the possibility. How many of those 20 do you think are going to also race the relay?
I'm going to say at least half of that.
At least 10. So you're
Yes.
thinking like 5 men, 5 women. Let me see here. Is 6 too small? Did I mean 6 on one side? Hang on. You guys go ahead and talk. Let me think here for a second.
Well, that's what that was
mathematical.
my next question was, are you talking 6 on the men's side and then 6 on the female side, or 6, or I think there'll definitely be more than 6 altogether,
Altogether.
looking at both sides. But if I'm going down the list, I mean, it's hard to say though, because I mean, the American team, will we see Rich Ryan in that team? Will we see Rylan Shadeg? Will we see
Wow.
Ryan Kent? We can't see all 3 of them because you can only
I'm
have
just
2.
counting.
Yeah.
I'm
So,
just counting. I think 9 of the 10 men are actually going to be racing all 3.
oh, you think?
Yeah.
Is
So I haven't even got to the women.
Spain has a relay team, don't they? So
Spain
Pelayo would
Spain will
likely
have
be
a
in that
relay
one.
team.
Yeah.
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 And then on the women's side, I think 1, 2, maybe 7 or 8 of the 10 women.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're looking at over under 15 or 16 people that could run all 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then there's another question is if um, those 15, 16 actually choose to. There's a difference between like there's a question of might they get asked to do the country relay and then actually doing it, right?
Yeah,
Mm.
I think it's silly to think you wouldn't almost.
Yeah, I
I
agree.
mean, unless there was some other like motive, but like most of these elite athletes, like we were saying, the way they train, it's not a big deal to do another race like that when asked, you know. So
Yeah. Yeah, I'll be intrigued when we don't know, Jim, yet when the relay
think
confirmations are coming out.
I mean, just think about the Olympics. They have you run the 5K multiple times. They have you run the 1500-meter multiple times for those guys that reach the final over like a 3-day span. You guys are going to be just fine doing events that are twice or 3 times as long
Yeah.
as that. So
I've got a feeling, Bernice, it'll be in the next week
Okay.
that we will get.
I
Sorry,
think by
like
the end of this week they'll tell everybody.
surely, yeah. So it'll be good to know.
Yeah.
I guess one other thing to consider is within the doubles, because that is the last event, the last major event of the weekend, is will we see any athletes pull out, you know, with we're probably more than likely to be honest. I think I'd be surprised if we didn't see 1 or 2 pairs have to pull out, whether that's due to fatigue or injuries or whatever reason. But when that happens, that rolls down to, let's just, you know, say it's someone from the Melbourne race, I'm just making that up, it would then roll down to the 4th place in Melbourne, wouldn't it?
Yeah, and it could be multiple people from. I've already heard of some that may be pulling out because of different things, but that means that it only would roll down up to 5th place. Like it doesn't roll past that apparently. I've had to look that up. So yeah, teams that are in 4th and 5th place, hopefully they're already going and they should be ready.
Yeah. I really hope. Like, yes, I think there's a high chance that will happen. I really hope it doesn't.
I hope it doesn't either.
Yeah,
But
they're not. I mean, you're not allowed to replace a partner. So
no, well, that's what I mean, right? There's 2 people, not just thinking about one, right? So yeah, it'll be good. Just on this note, right? Anthony said like we'll be fine, and I agree because I'm under Anthony's wing. I think Anthony's athletes will be fine, and I'm biased. I don't know about anyone else. No, I'm being harsh there, but we do a lot of volume. I'm not worried at all. Yeah, it's gonna be that Saturday night with Jake Dearden is gonna be tough, but I'm training for it right now, right?
well,
Like it's the point.
fuel, yeah, fuel for it. You're training for the whole weekend. You're not training for one race, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
fuel for it. Get everything ready. But like we say, like attack the thing that's first. And so
yeah,
your first thing is your individual race. You're going to get that done. You're going to train for that, be ready for that. And then when that's done, you take what's left over, try to replenish yourself as much as possible. We're assuming, JK, you're going to be on your relay team unless for some reason they say, we don't want him. I don't know who you pissed off, but
Yeah, I got to stay in the good books. Got to stay in the good books, hopefully. But
yeah, like take what you have left, fuel up, get ready, reset, do it again. You're going to have 24 hours, and I actually think the relay is going to be the toughest race because I know firsthand what you guys like. Hardly anybody sleeps after those individual races. So you guys are going to be on very little sleep or no sleep, trying to recover and get ready for the most intense race, right? That is still mainly aerobic system. The most intense race, and then you have from there, hopefully you get sleep that night, which you should after that one, be able to get some good sleep, like recover, refuel, and then prepare for your doubles. Because honestly, you don't need 3 days to come up with a strategy. Like a couple hours beforehand, you can come up with a sound strategy if you're talking it out the whole time.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. Hey, just quickly, I do have to leave shortly. I've got to cook some salmon for Georgie and myself. But Anthony,
Good man.
just quickly, will you be cheering for me at all on Friday if I end up getting into the country relay, or will you not be cheering at all?
JK, I want you to have the most amazing race on your legs.
Yep, but
go USA.
Yeah. You want me
I hope you win your portions, but you guys can come in second by 1/10 of a second.
That's fine. Okay. All right. We'll see about that. Guys, thanks for letting me jump on for a bit.
Oh,
Thank
thanks
you,
for jumping on, Jim.
Enjoy the rest of the chat. We'll talk to you guys soon.
Thank you. Have a good
All
one.
right.
We'll have you back on later for an actual workout, and you have to.
Oh yeah, I know.
You have to work out against the listener.
Hey, it'll happen. It'll happen soon.
All right. Have a good one.
All right.
Nice. That was great. Thanks, Bernice, for having him on.
Yeah, that's good. Good to hear his thoughts. Let's get into the women's.
Yeah, let's do the women's race here because this was actually really exciting. Oh, before we do that, just interesting. Everybody at the beginning of the year when they announced the doubles, I remember talking about how, don't let the Elite 15 athletes do it because they're like, it's for everybody else. You don't want to, they're going to take over all the spots. We're just going to see the same people race. Just for reference, what we talked about, there's only 10 of the Elite 15 individuals in this field of 30 people. That means there's 20 extra people that are having opportunities to race just on the men's side alone.
Yeah.
And we'll get to the women's side, but it's exactly the same. It's 10 out of 30, right? In that way, there's 8 teams that have at least one individual Elite 15 athlete, only 8 teams. And there's only 2 teams that would be super teams that include 2 Elite 15 athletes that have made it as individuals are also teamed up. And those teams, I would have to say those teams are probably the 2 favorites.
Yeah,
but
they're obviously Paleo and Rich and James and Jake.
Yeah. So, but I mean, you have teams that don't have an Elite 15 athlete individual in there, like Marcus and Dawson, who I think people are looking at like, these guys are going to be really good. You know, I actually think this race might really come down to strategy and not fitness. Who can get the right angles, who gets the right corners, and who, puts pressure on at the right points to be able to take a 5-second lead here or a 5-second lead there and stay out of the crowds that this race will create.
I actually think you're spot on there about the strategy, Anthony. I think that is actually what will win the doubles race, not necessarily fitness. I think you're right there.
And on that, with how close the teams are, it has to be that way. This is dang it, this is the question I meant to ask JK, but he dropped off. So I'll ask you, Bernice, which team which team based on the time, so if we look at the times here, 1 through 15, and they're all seeded by time, which team based on the time seeding improves its position the most? For example, if a team went from 15th to 1st, that's 14 positions. You can't get any better than that. So is there a team on this list that you think could improve their position the most from where they're seated at?
Oh, the two that probably. Oh,
Do you have the list? Can you pull it up for the viewers here? We can, if you go to hyrox.com and go to the rankings and go to World Championship qualifiers and select division as Hyrox Pro Doubles Elites, you can pull up the whole list.
oh yeah, let me do that. I was on high result before, but I'll do it from
Yeah, so if you do that from Hyrox, we can look at the whole list and show it to the viewers here. Which team, and we just go down the teams that spread out. Obviously, Rich and Paleo, they can't improve their position from where they're at. So that's a net 0. But every team lower than them is able to improve position. Which team, based on seeding, and if you guys are listening and want to comment as well, which team from the list of 15 would be bringing their stock up the most in their finish position?
I'm going to share high result because unfortunately the Hyrox website hasn't updated to all the latest latest results for some reason. Yeah.
I have it.
Oh, you have it updated? Oh, mine's got Michael Sandback and Hunter still at the top.
No, don't go to all time. Don't go to all time.
Right.
Go to World Championship qualifiers.
Gotcha.
And then select the division as Hyrox Pro Doubles Elites.
Doubles Elites, all right. All right, let me share my screen here.
All right.
You can see that there.
Yeah, there we go. So you scroll down, see the men. We'll go to the men. We'll do the women next. But is there a team that stands out to you?
The one I was going to say is potentially Marcus Wallace and Dawson Miller.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to, they're seated 11th and they will absolutely finish better than that.
Yeah.
So you're looking at potential of probably 6 to 9 spots they could move up.
I would almost say Yannick Saspler and Tim Reinisch as well could potentially move up from there.
I could see it.
Yeah.
Watching their race in Paris, maybe not, just because of how they went there. Not that they're not going to do any better than that, but we'll see how they're able to move through the field there. I would say, in terms of being able to move up, I thought Hide Wiersma and Cherry Villingenberg, they're seated 6th right now, but they led, and they led both races that they were in, Paris and London, for a long section of the time, and Hide led the Barcelona LCQ for a pretty long period of time.
Yeah, so, and they raced well together, to be honest.
And so they've really only fallen back ever on the wall balls. And wall balls is one of the stations that, you know what, they have time to work on and could improve at.
The other ones, Anthony, it's hard for me to say because the Melbourne race was back in December. So I haven't personally seen, I think Tanguy Cruz and Daniel Payne have raced together since then. I'm going to say either in Auckland or Brisbane. But Chris Woolley and Tom Rogers, again, it just depends on what they've been doing between then and now. But, we've saw an incredible performance from Tom just, 10 days ago to get into the Elite 15 solos. So could we see Chris Woolley and Tom Rogers climb up there? They're currently, that qualifying time is 52:53. Could they potentially get into that sub 51 minutes?
Right. I could absolutely see them improving to that. I think Tom especially has just improved almost every single race that he's been in this year. So I think he has a very high ceiling, a high potential for him and Chris going faster together. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right. But again, I think you actually make such an excellent point that it's not necessarily going to come down to fitness because, as we were talking about before, like the time between all these athletes, it's not a lot, particularly that kind of top tier of athletes. I think it's really going to come down to strategy.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Do you want to move on to the women?
Yeah, let's move on to the women. Maybe I'll
So
keep this up while we kind of
I
chat
know,
about
I know
the women.
people are excited, like they get excited about the men's race. It's very close. The women's race always, to me, is exciting and interesting and fun to watch. And maybe it's just because of a bias that I have towards watching the women's race, but I think the women's race every time almost outdoes the men's, and this was no exception to that. Um, Now I know going into this race, like um, Kate wouldn't want me to tell any of her like excuses for it, but this turned out to be a race that they were going to go from let's try to win to hey, let's just get our qualifier, just because of some uh, things that went on. But I know Zara was feeling great, so to see them get their spot is fantastic. You got Margot van den Linden-Loof and Charlotte van den Linden-Loof, who are already qualified, running from a later heat, finishing only 1 second behind Camilla Massa and Meg Jacoby. So 1 second difference there. And Kate and Zara were only like 20 seconds back of that. So not having a great day and finishing 20 seconds back, fantastic for them. And then stealing the show in London, though, for sure, was Sinead Bent and Lucy Proctor. And that was the only team that had two individual, it was the only super qualify or super team in this field, right?
Yeah.
Because that's the only team that had two Elite 15 individual qualifiers from this year. There are Elite 15 individual qualifiers from last year that were teamed up with some, but nobody that both in the same year. So it was very exciting. And did you get a chance to watch the race?
I did, and I have to be honest, Anthony, the three teams that I thought would qualify did in fact qualify, just not in the order I expected.
Uh, yeah.
I thought I would see. It's interesting just to hear, as you say. I'm sure Kate doesn't like it sounding like there's any excuses, but interesting to hear that she was maybe just going for the qualifying spot rather than winning with Zara. I expected Sinead Bent and Lucy Proctor to qualify, but probably to come in third place behind Camilla and Meg, Kate and Zara. I mean, she is someone to watch. Like I don't know if anyone watching also saw her on the farmer's carry. Like, I don't think I've ever seen a woman go as fast as I saw Sinead go with the farmer's carry with her and Lucy. Like, she was incredible.
Yeah, the sprint drop method.
Yeah.
Very interesting. The exactly. Like, yeah, these are the top three teams I would have expected, but not necessarily in that order. Just going down to play to, give the rest of the field their pieces. In fifth place, you had Diana Liebenstedt and Jade Skillen, who would be the first runner-ups if anything happened to one of the top three teams. And then Sam Pretty and Afi Faye, they finished in sixth, and Rebecca Hammond and Nicole Miracle finished in seventh. So those are your top seven teams that came out of this. Going on from this, though, if you got to watch the race, it was very interesting. So London was set up where I believe it was the first run was a little bit longer, and the last run was a lot longer for the teams racing. What that did is I was monitoring the race from the sled pull out until the wall ball in. Lucy and Sinead were ahead of Tia and Joanna's run times, like in terms of when they were entering stations. And it wasn't until that last run that was extra long in London where they actually fell off the world record pace, as you'd call it, right? So to me, it was like, wow, this is really fast. This is really fast. And I didn't realize that the last run was extra long until it happened. So just as a side-by-side look at this, Sinead and Lucy were running ahead of Joanna and Tia, their world record pace, starting at the burpee in. So Tia and Joanna were ahead on the ski erg in, the ski erg out, the sled push in, the sled push out, the sled pull in. But at the sled pull out, Tia and Joanna were only 3 seconds ahead of Sinead and Lucy's time. Then you get to the burpee in, and if you're watching this live, it was 24 minutes flat. Sinead and Lucy entered the burpees. 24:03 is when Tia and Joanna entered the burpees. And then, so you're looking at like these station times that, Sinead and Lucy were beating Tia and Joanna on the first. Well, they actually beat them on the sled push. They beat them on the sled pull. They beat them on the burpees. The row, they were only 1 second behind them. And then you look at the farmer carry, and Sinead and Lucy beat Joanna and Tia on the farmer carry. They beat them, or they were only 5 seconds back on the lunges. So they're a very good station team. And then you look at the final run that happened. It was actually pretty interesting. So leaving the lunges, Sinead and Lucy were 11 seconds ahead of the world record pace set by Joanna and Tia. And then going into the wall balls, that extra long run, they actually fell back to 1 minute and 2 seconds behind Tia and Joanna after the final run and into the and into the wall balls. So looking at their overall time, they ended up finishing 1 minute and 28 seconds behind Joanna and Tia, but it seemed a lot closer than that if you were monitoring the splits.
Definitely. But then interesting to look at the list that we've still got up there, that even though they were ahead of world record pace, they still came in fourth throughout the entire women's list there. They still had Lauren Weeks and Lauren Griffith, and then Linda Meyer and Viola Oberlander still beat their times regardless. So that top tier of ladies who have qualified, probably the top 7 there, even the sub 57 minutes times. That's going to be interesting to see.
It's gonna be a battle, and just like we said on the men's side, where you never know what could happen because different courses were efficient versus inefficient. Like we had talked about with Kieran Parkinson and Tony Ravel, and as well as Tom Fransons and his partner. There was a women's team that went on multiple courses. There was multiple women's teams that went on multiple courses, but let's just start with the Van den Lindenloof sisters, because they're the most recent. We saw them run in Paris. They took third place with 57.16. And then they went 56.20 in London, taking third in both races. In London, they were only 1 second behind Camilla and Meg and 28 seconds behind the winners, Sinead and Lucy. Well, the winners in Paris were Linda and Viola, and Linda and Viola were 1:37 ahead of them in that race by the finish line. So it's going to be interesting to see all these teams on the same course and see like what's going to pay off to risk going out ahead or to sit back and kick. With the field of this caliber of athletes, how do you manage which ones, what your strategy is going to be and where to attack at? Because obviously it's going to be very tight with some of these teams.
No, it definitely is. And similar kind of story with the world records that we were talking about with the men's. I mean, I'm just looking here at the overall rankings across the world that, for example, Jana Lebenstedt and Jade Skillen, who just raced in London, and they came in fourth, didn't they? Like they didn't get the spot, but they came in fourth place. They're actually now, their time from London is ranked 15th in the world. So that's just crazy to think that they actually, also beat some of the now qualifiers within the women's list with their time of 57.54.
Yeah, and looking at it, just like the men's list, it's crazy how much faster this year got just by putting an emphasis on this race. Excuse me. And then I wanted to go over this part too. Again, just like the men's side, the women's team, there was 10 out of 30 women in this field. That means also 20 additional spots were granted besides people that had also made the Elite 15 individuals. But there was 5 individuals in the Elite 15 who did not end up running or qualifying for an Elite 15 doubles. Those 5 women Vivian Tafudo, Emily Dahmen, Ida Matilda Rubin Stinsgaard, Melanie Marr, and Amy Bellavacqua.
Yeah, which is it's going to be such a tight finish, I think, like on both men's and women's side.
Yeah, it's absolutely. And again, same thing on the men's side. It's funny how these teams, the genders are mirroring each other right now. There's 8 teams that have at least one Elite 15 individual athlete, and there are 2 super teams, meaning that they have 2 Elite 15 individual athletes that comprise the super teams. Those teams that comprise them, Lauren Weeks and Lauren Griffith, my wife. She's amazing, by the way. Just want to shout out, I love you, Lauren. And then Lucy Proctor and Sinead Bent is the only other team that comprises of 2 Elite 15 individual qualifiers, also qualifying as a team on doubles.
Yeah, so very similar, obviously, with the men's.
Yeah, absolutely. So just like we said with the men's, I'm going to bring that same exact question back up for you. Which team do you think improves their seeding to finish the most?
I knew you were going to ask this. Uh, do you know who I could see is Jess Petro and Maria Fekic? I thought they raced really well together in Miami. I could see them improve their standing.
Yeah, that's their, what's crazy is, we talk about whether people are racing or time trialing. And a lot of people talk about how they race and they do better in races. Right now, Jess Petro and Maria Fekic are the lowest winning qualifiers, meaning that they won their qualifier, but they're sitting time-wise in 9th place in terms of seeding. I absolutely think they'll improve that. So there's got to be room for improvement there for them. I also think other teams that could see marked improvement, Kate Davey and Zara Piergianni, just knowing how they raced last weekend and what they were feeling like, to be sitting in 6th is definitely lower than I think that they will finish. And then the Van den Lindenloof sisters showed they have something, right? So they're sitting as the 8th seed right now, but I could definitely see that improving up to, they took 3rd in both the other races. It could be a tight thing. And like we talked about, they're probably not racing 2 other races beforehand. Like, this is their premier race of the weekend for them. So
Yeah, I was definitely going to mention that the Van den Lindenloof sisters. That I should point out that I think Hyrox has just made a bit of a mistake here, that because Margot and Charlotte came 3rd overall in London, they've actually put them in there twice, you can see. So
yeah,
I've just looked at Anthony's actually pulled out for our show notes today the list, but Kate and Zara's time should be in that 6th spot. In terms of their London time, their time was ahead of Seka Arnings and Rebecca Frank's time. So that's kind of where they're sitting in the rankings there.
yeah. And so it's just interesting to read through all this and see just how it's going and who could improve the most. And I'm sure some of the people that raced in Melbourne, they would be able to improve not just their times, but their seating. But I haven't seen any of them race anywhere else, so I don't know.
I'm just going to quickly look up. I'm sure Tangai Cruz and Daniel Payne did race together. Yeah, they raced in Brisbane.
Oh, I was talking
And they
about the
did.
women's side, but
Oh,
yeah.
sorry, the women's side. Yeah, they're the only ones I can think of from the 6 teams that qualified from Melbourne that have raced together since. And they did a 53:35 compared to, what did they do in Melbourne? So actually, they didn't beat their time from the Melbourne race. So yeah, it will be interesting to see those teams that qualified from Melbourne, because like you say, Anthony, we haven't probably seen majority of them race together since then.
Right. So anyway, going to be an exciting field, going to be fantastic to get through. And on the women's side, like we talked about on the men's side, there's 10 people that are doing both races right now, individual and doubles. I could see 8 of those women actually racing all 3. So you're looking at 16 to 17 total people that could be racing all 3 races, all 3 elite races on the weekend.
Yep.
And there's others obviously that will be racing individual and their team relay, and there's some that might be racing team relay and doubles, but not one or the other. So it really is all 3, and I think that's kind of the direction that the sport is going, is who's going to be able to do that.
Yeah, well, it's like you pointed out earlier, it's what happens in, the Olympics. You don't just see usually these elite athletes, of the top tier just race in one event. They're usually there racing in multiple. So that's kind of how it goes.
Yeah. And just to go back to the London race itself a little bit, it was very interesting. The venue looked really neat once it opened up. But when they were starting with the skier, and that's what I saw first, I was like, are they in an office building? Like, it was just covered and short. Like, this is kind of interesting. And then it opened up. They had a great floor to go out on, a little bit of turns and stuff. But I'm sure the racers enjoyed being able to race in that venue. It looked pretty neat. I would say the broadcast afterwards, I really liked the post-production. It was quick. It was short. Just getting to the high points, which made sense and showed a bit of the race, showed where people entered and left the stations at appropriately. And it was good to see them going, and they got the elite commentators on it as well. So, yeah, good stuff from Hyrox on the broadcasting of that. And I hope that it continues to be able to go like that, if not towards live.
Definitely was.
So, well, we had one other race on the weekend. Do you know what it was?
Hyrox Mumbai.
So the first race in India.
It was the first, wasn't it, in India, which is great to see.
Yeah. So really cool to see them getting their opportunity over there. Did anybody have anything to say about the women's race before we move on? I feel like I wanted to talk more about it, but I think we covered everything.
I think so. I was just looking if there were any comments. But yeah, anyone, watching live, or if you're listening to this after, let us know what your thoughts were, or let us know, I guess, what you are expecting to happen. I'd love to hear what other people think may happen in Chicago with the doubles, because it's the first time we're seeing this. We've seen the solos race before. We've seen the relays. I'm excited to see what the doubles can really bring. So let us know what you think.
So a little commentary here, Bernice. Will the doubles be the premier race ever, or is it always going to be the individuals?
Look, I'm just going off the history of sport in general. Let's just say you look at tennis, it's always going to be the solo athletes, I think, who dominate. Not to say, though, that we're not going to see some incredible teams in the doubles, I think, start to become more known. That's my thoughts anyway. I just think what it might come down to when you're looking at sport as a whole is that you're putting solely all the talent on that one person. And I think that's pretty incredible. But as I say, I'm sure there's going to be some pairs, but it really depends, Anthony, on, are there going to be a change up of pairs next season and the following season? Or are we going to see these pairs stick it out together? I mean, just looking, Kate and Zara have raced a lot together. Rich and Paleo have raced a lot together. So we might see some stay together, but we also might see some changes in it as well.
Well, that's exactly right. I think what it's going to come down to is location and opportunity for the athletes, whether or not they're going to be able to switch partners or have partners, or have to stay with the same ones, or how that's going to work. It's going to come down to what the qualifying process ends up being. But whatever it is, I think it's exciting. I do agree. The doubles here is almost like tennis doubles, where it's exciting for all of us in the community. It's exciting for us to watch. It's exciting for people to discuss and talk about. But really, the premier race is still the individuals. The individuals will always steal the show because it is the one person race. It's their ability to finish and do well at everything, right? As an individual. Now, you will have some individuals that never go doubles. You'll have some individuals that enjoy doubles and do them both. But you're also going to see like the double specialist. I really think you're going to have people that like they just do doubles and they are just like the ultimate accessory partner, basically. Like stick them with anyone and both of them are better than the together than they are separate. And so I think you're going to end up seeing people like that, somebody who is just able to be the support person that can bring faster times to anybody they race with. And so those will be the partners that you want to have. Those will be the partners that people fight over.
Yep. No, I think you're right. I think we will see some athletes start to specialize, particularly, I mean, for example, Anthony, we might see some of the athletes who have been in the Elite 15 solo races the past few World Championships who haven't made it this season. They might start to think that the doubles suits them better. It's something that they can more focus their time on. So, yeah, who knows if we'll see Tia Claire Toomey, for example, end up doing a solo. Will she just continue to focus on doing doubles with James Newbury and Joanna Wettrick for this one? So, yeah, who knows how it's going to play out.
It's an opportunity for other people to come into the sport, but it's also an opportunity for like those bubble athletes that are, trying to make the Elite 15 and don't always get in. It's an opportunity for them to be like, I'm still running an elite race. I'm still having an opportunity to become world champion at an elite level, because it opens up more spots to them. Like we said, there's 20 extra spots basically in the elite field, outside of those who already had made the individual one this year. And that could be more or less in the future too, with people specifically training for doubles. That number could go up.
Oh, it definitely could. I will be really intrigued to see once we get the podiums for the Elite 15 doubles, how many of those athletes were in the solo races and how many weren't. I think that's one stat I'll be really intrigued to see.
Yeah. How many of the athletes raced in a major, how many of them competed at the elite level previously versus how many actually ran just, those pro races and were able to qualify with their teammate in a pro style race.
Definitely. Yeah, that's one thing I'll be intrigued for.
Awesome. All right. So let's go on to Mumbai. Mumbai, like we said, first race in India. The male winner, Michael Luge, 59:10. So India gets its first sub 60 time. Second place, James Lowry, 63:02. Third place, Semyon Shadrin, 63:36. So great times for a first event. Like those are flying for a country's very first event. And so great job to all those men. And then on the women's side, familiar name, Jess Toll, 64:57. Second place, Royson Agan, 67:13. And third place, Danielle Crew, 70:33. So
yeah, they're great times. I agree with you about it's great to see a sub 60 time on the men's side. And even to be honest, sub 65 for the women for the first event. I'd have to look it up, but I don't even know if Australia did that. Oh, maybe we did because we would have had probably James racing on the men's pro side. But yeah, I don't know if many countries would have done that, achieved that with their very first race.
Yeah, a country's very first race to have a woman under 65 and a man under 60. I don't know if there's any other races that have seen that for their very first one in the country. That'd be an interesting stat. We should look that up.
It would be interesting. I'm actually really quickly looking at the very first Melbourne race. Oh, you know what? Yeah, Melbourne, Chris Woolley broke that time, 59:27 for the men's. The first Melbourne race, this is back in 2023. Yeah, we didn't break the 65-minute mark there. So that'd take a bit of work, but that would be interesting to look up.
It'd be interesting to go look at. I think the only one that could have done that since Germany started the whole thing, they definitely didn't. I know the U.S. didn't, because I know the women's winning time from that, and I know no man broke 60 in the men's in the US on the first one. I would say Canada, maybe this last year in Toronto, or the UK, whatever the UK's first race was. I'd say one of those countries probably has a pretty good shot at doing the 60-65 mark, but that's a great start. Even if these people aren't from that country, it's a great start to see that kind of buy-in on a country's first race.
Yeah, absolutely it is. And
So,
then what else do we kind of have coming up, Anthony? It's a big couple of weeks still within
oh,
the hybrid fitness space.
yes, there is. So we have, I don't even know how to say this city, so I'm sorry, but it's Herenveen uh, is this weekend. It's a Hyrox race. Next weekend, you have Berlin and Incheon, so South Korea and Germany. And then they're going to Bangkok, May 24th to 25th. And then also there's going to be Deadly Dozen in Australia that same weekend.
That's right.
And then we are ending the regular season, I would say, of Hyrox, May 30th and June 1st with a 4-event weekend. So 2 weeks before Worlds, it is New York, Rimini, Cardiff, and Riga. And then there's a 1 weekend off, the rare weekend with no racing, right before the Hyrox World Championships in Chicago. And it's also Dekafit Colorado that same weekend.
Yeah, wow. Can I ask, Anthony, do you know if are there still world champ slots available for the age group categories at those final few events in New
I
York,
I
Cardiff?
think there is.
Yeah.
I think there's world championship spots available all the way to the end there. So
Okay.
um, don't take my word for that because that's a guess, but it is what I've heard because I know somebody who is going to Cardiff and they have told me they think it's their last opportunity to get a spot at Worlds. So if that's not right, then those would be qualifiers for the following year, 2026.
Okay. I mean, I know I'm getting way ahead of myself, but I can't wait to see that top 40 time qualification list for the elites to come back online and see where everyone stands after this season really wraps up because I haven't actually looked at this, but I believe the Sydney event that we have, which is the first weekend of July, could potentially be the first Hyrox event of the 25 to 26 season.
Well, the first event of the 25 to 26 season is Singapore. That's 2 weeks
Oh,
afterwards.
2 weeks after Worlds. Okay, and then Sydney must be the following weekend.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
okay.
think I'm not sure when Sydney is, but yeah, the 2 weeks after World Championships, you have the Singapore event, and then it continues on. And in the U.S., we have New York, and then nothing until Toronto, which is late September, early October. So um, those are everything coming up for us on this show. We will have the relay invitational preview as soon as we know the captains and or the team members. We'll be able to get that out for you guys. I'm assuming that's probably a topic for next week. We will absolutely be reviewing any races that happen. So you have Herenveen coming up, and we haven't yet, but I will take a look at this to see if there is a start list out and any names on that start list that we are excited about seeing. Um, Not that we're not excited for everybody, but good luck to everybody racing. I don't see. Sorry, just quickly glancing. Don't see any names I recognize to start with. But we'll go to the women's side.
I'll just mention, Anthony, for the Deadly Dozen Oz event that's in Sydney, 24th of May, we've got a few athletes who not necessarily are competing in the elite side of the Hyrox World Championships, although Daniel Payne is coming to do Deadly Dozen Oz because that event is about 3 weeks before the World Championships. So we've got a few athletes who are heading over to Chicago for the age group championships who are racing that event. So it's a good little, I guess, pre-race ahead of the Hyrox World Championships. There's still tickets available as well.
Nice. Okay, yeah. So looking at Heronveen. It looks like Linda Meyer is doing a tune-up race for Worlds, as her name is on the list to start there, and I don't see anybody else's name that I recognize. Not that there's not anybody else worth commenting on. I just don't recognize the names off the top of my head on the women's side, and I didn't see any on the men's side either. So good luck to her at that race. And as far as we go, we will have more commentary for you guys, guest analysis, speculation of the season, and when they release it, whatever possible rule changes or what the rule book says when that's actually released. So those are the types of things we'll look forward to, and we'll try to get out to you guys. If you haven't already, you could follow Beyond the Grid on Instagram, as well as if you are listening on Spotify or Apple, you can follow us on YouTube as well and get the video version. And on YouTube, you can watch us live. That's why we do it live, is so we can interact with any guests who have comments that want to ask questions or share. We will be reading all of them whenever you guys say your piece.
Please do. And as we say, I think every episode, if there's anything that in particular that you would like to see, particularly as we're coming into, I guess, previewing a lot of the World Championships, is there, particular athletes you want us to see if we can try and get them on? Just let us know, because we will do our best. We don't want JK on every episode. I mean, we get sick of that boy, don't we?
Maybe you do.
No. I do, because he's my sibling. He's annoying.
Oh yeah, I could see that. No, I'm excited. I'd love to get my wife on sometime when it works out. That'd be fantastic.
Definitely. I'm sure having Lily there, well, I guess one of you's got to look after her, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Actually, I do have to say, my husband Dan, who is not someone who would ever do something like this, has offered that when we have our baby, he's offered to step in. I don't know how much he'll enjoy it, but he has offered to put his face out there just for a few weeks there, so we can have a new face on.
Nice.
But thanks, guys. Thanks for watching live. And as Anthony said, send through any comments, any feedback, anything that you're really wanting to see, and thoughts that you might have for the World Championships, because we'll definitely call them out in our live episodes. Your thoughts around who we might see up there on the podium.
Correct.
Awesome. Thanks, Anthony.
Thank you. Have a good one.